Good morning. I have a question for the ministers, please. How were the concerns that you expressed on behalf of your country and peers received by the international community? We often hear complaints that Africa is not at the table when decisions are made. Do you think that's changing at all?
Minister.
Well, I think Africa is more and more coming onto the table, and we are pushing the issues that we think face our countries to the fore. I represented the Group 1 constituency, the African Group 1 constituency in the DC, and we really also presented our case very strongly, drawing attention that even under the current global challenges, war in Ukraine, Africa should not be forgotten, and the issues that Africa is facing should be on the table. We made it clear yesterday that we are disappointed that the Development Committee could not issue a communique this year, and it's mainly due to geopolitical issues. We are saying that we recognize, of course, the challenges brought by the Ukraine-Russian war, but there are also wars going on in some areas in the world. This should not stop us really to bring up the issues, to issue the communique that give clarity as to what the development institution should do for Africa. So yes, we have to keep pushing, on these issues that concern Africa. But Africa is on the table.
Minister Musokotwane, Africa is on the table. Is it the time to raise?
Well, the reality that yes, Africa is on the table, but we have to be honest and say that the weight of Africa at the table is very narrow, especially when you take into account of the fact that it is a continent that is second behind Asia in terms of the population, young people, the space. So it lags behind, partly because, of course, our own weaknesses, because our economies have not risen to the appropriate strength. So those with bigger economies, that's the reality of life. They dominate the table. But that does not mean that it should always be so. There needs to listen to us very carefully, especially like the topic that we're just discussing now, how to create the infrastructure that will be required to make these economies to rise up and become part of the global scene. So yes, we are there, but we are marginalized.
Professor Mthuli.
There is a similar view that yes, we're at the table and increasingly so, but we occupy a small stool on the table rather than the larger stool, because most of the time we're recipients of support, of aid, of resources, as opposed to a giver of those resources to the rest of the world. And that creates an uneven relationship, naturally, even just out of that relationship, an uneven relationship. So, but we should really strengthen ourselves. We should be listened to. I think some of the assistance will be much more impactful if the givers also listen to what those receiving are saying in terms of their priorities. After all, they understand the situation better on the ground. But I must say that, look, I'm hopeful that things will keep improving over time.